Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Meet the Church. Another chance to meet another member of Dale Street Evangelical Church. And this morning, answering the 10 questions is Mrs. Kirsty Rhodes. We heard from Ian a few weeks ago, and this morning, answering the questions is Kirsty. So, 10 questions for us to find out a little bit more about Kirsty. Over to you, Mrs. Rhodes.
So I had a really good childhood. I was born in Pontefract and I lived in a small village called Thorpe Hardlin, which is where we still live now. It's a bit like the Hotel California. It's a lovely place, but you can never leave. It was great because there was a really good bunch of kids living there that were all the same age, and we just used to spend all our time out on our bikes, building dens. Just really fantastic time, just having lots and lots of fun outside. My mum didn't work, so she was always there when we came home from school, and she took care of us during the week. And then my dad was an amazing playmate at a weekend. He used to spend hours playing games with us, taking us places and doing things. So much so that other people on the village used to call for my dad rather than me and my sister. So I had an older sister called Anna, who loved to play pranks on me, and it was awful because I was the youngest of all the cousins. I can remember one time her and my elder cousin Claire put me on the roof at my grandparents' house. It was a flat roof, and they put me out through the window, left me there, and then called my grandma to say, "Oh, Kirsty's on the roof, she's escaped." And I used to get into lots of trouble because he used to play so many pranks on me, and I used to react badly. But my childhood was really happy and a really good time. Something that, I look back with fond memories. So as I had Christian parents, I went to church from a very young age. I went to Featherstone Gospel Hall. Some of my first experiences actually and first memories of church are actually quite traumatic in some ways, because I remember being sat at the back as a very little girl watching a baptism, but I couldn't see what was happening. And I actually thought they were holding this man under the water till he confessed that he believed in God. So I was a bit concerned about that as a child. And the other thing that really sticks in my mind is the word Emmanuel, God with us, but in a Featherstone accent that becomes God with us. And I actually thought God was this man with a big pointy finger that used to shrivel people up and wither them. So I was very confused and very scared of church, I think, initially. I do remember another incident as well when we got into lots and lots of trouble, me and my sister, because in those days, everyone, being a good Brethren church, everyone had massive hats on, and there was a lady that used to sit in front of us, and she had a massive feather on the back of her hat. Me and my sister spent the entire service trying to make this feather move by blowing it, and we actually succeeded, and that was the point where my mum found out, and we got into a lot of trouble that day. At 10, my plan was to be a famous violinist. I'd got it all figured out. I was going to be on This Is Your Life, if any of you can remember that programme. My mum was going to come on first as a guest because she was the most important person in my life. I was also going to treat her at this event because I was going to buy her a lipstick and a fur coat because I really felt that's what she was missing in life at that time. My sister, however, wasn't going to be part of it, probably because of all the pranks she'd played on me and the mean things she'd done to me. But I was going to employ her to carry my violin case. So the only word I can use to describe myself as a teenager is really uncool. I went to quite a rough school, and I was very swotty, and I was very try-hard, and I was just swotty. And unfortunately, I have really curly hair, but it was the time of the perm, and instead of just relying on my natural curly hair, I decided to have a perm too. This didn't work out quite so well for me because I ended up looking a bit like Brian May. So not only was I geeky, I also had bad hair too. Well, I didn't become a famous violinist, but my job is being a violinist in many respects. I qualified as a teacher after leaving uni, and now I work for Wakefield Music Services, where I teach children to play the violin. I direct ensembles, I conduct orchestras, I teach music, classroom music as well. So I am making my money through sort of following my dreams. I might not be famous, but it's very rare that I can go out without somebody coming up to me and saying, Mrs. Rhodes, Mrs. Rhodes. So I'm famous in one sort of a way, so I do feel like I have followed my dreams and sort of followed through on what I wanted to be when I was 10. Although I'm not on This Is Your Life. So it wasn't love at first sight because we've sort of known about each other all our lives. Our parents knew one another, so we knew who each other was, and so I knew him as a child. So no, it wasn't love at first sight. It's definitely a relationship that was grown. The way we met and got to be friends was actually through an ex-girlfriend of his who was in my tent at camp. But today's actually our 21st wedding anniversary, so we can't have done that badly. Starter would be goat's cheese with caramelised onions. Main course would be steak, rare, with peppercorn sauce, and for pudding I'd have Eton mess. I became a Christian when I was only 7 years old. After a meeting at church, after a service, I came home one night and we always had prayers together. Me and my sister and my dad used to come in and pray with us every night as we went to bed. And I can remember just asking him and saying, it must be something that had been said in the service, I can't remember what, but I just remember asking my dad, well, how do I become a Christian? And my dad explained to me that I needed to put all my trust in God. And he explained that like it was if I jumped off a cliff, do I believe that God could catch me? Did I believe that he would be able to hold me? And that I needed to open my heart to Jesus and let him in. And my sister and I were both saved on the same day because we both prayed with my dad at the same time and asked Jesus to come into our hearts. So I suppose for my parents that was a wonderful day, and a wonderful day for both me and my sister. I suppose the way that my faith has helped me outside of church is that when you're going through something that's really, really tough and something that's really, really hard, that you know there's a purpose to it and it's not just a random unlucky event, and that when things are tough that you're not on your own. It's always that thing that always stays in the back of my mind when I'm going through hard times is that God will never put you through more than you can bear. So it's almost like, look, you've got this, and it's God telling you you've got this, but even better, it's God telling you we've got it. So when life gets tough, I think the way my faith really, really helps me is knowing that I've always got God by my side and that whatever's happening, there's a reason for it. And I might not be able to see the bigger picture now, but eventually I will. My go-to verse is Proverbs 3, 5 and 6. It's verses that my mum and dad put in my Bible that they bought for me when I went to university. And it's good advice that's kept me through all my life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight. I suppose it goes back to that idea of how my faith has helped me and that I know that God's always there for me. If I put him first in my life, then whatever happens, everything will turn out for the right reason and that I'll be in the right place where God wants me to be.